All right. Can you hear us?
I can, and you tell me if you want me to do video. I don't mind doing it at all, but she is so not going to let me go right now.
No,
She
you're
No,
wants
this
good.
me.
is video is good. First of all, our hearts, obviously. This is so much that beyond what we can fathom, but we do know that we have well-resourced community. And so it's important for us to share it with people. It's one of those that because you're sharing, um, we are here to help support that in every way that we can. And we're so deeply grateful for all the work that you do in the world, that we feel this is the least that we can do. And not because of the work that you do, just as you as a mother, as you as someone that's literally doing everything that you can. We just want to really honor that and thank you for everything that you're having to kind of like pull up and push down and carry on right now, because it's a lot. And so our intention with this video is to be able to really share you, at a time when there's so many GoFundMe's and, people
Yeah,
asking for money. It's hard to know who to trust with those anymore as well. And so really felt like, as someone that's become a part of our life, for us to really share it with people in our life, that this would really help for them to know this is someone that we actually know, someone who is really in this right now, so that if they feel called to support, they can.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that. It is a lot. And thank you very much for even doing this, because the way that the community has really rallied around and supported us. Like, my heart is breaking, but at the same time, it is full because just the amazing just outpouring from everyone and love that they have, for Carlene. I can literally feel it. And it makes it a little bit easier, to deal with. And at the same time, gives me more fight. So, like, if I'm giving these people hell, it's a lot to do with the community rallying around me. So I really, really appreciate all of you, honestly.
You are
Absolutely.
so welcome. And before we dive in any deeper, I just want to check in. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's overwhelming to be in this situation again because, my oldest daughter was diagnosed with brain cancer. So this isn't my first rodeo. And, you know, um, literally 18 years. Yeah, I think about 18 years has passed since she passed away. You know what? This is going to be about 20 years since her initial diagnosis, actually.
Mm.
She was diagnosed in 2002. Yeah, when she was 8 years old. So we're talking about 20 years later, here I am again. So it's surreal. It's surreal. But, I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's start first. If you'll explain a little bit about who you are in your work. I think that way people can get to know a little bit about you, and then let's go into talking about what you need right now and what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm a traditional naturopath, which number one means I live as close to nature as possible. And, most of that came from the battle, like me really getting into my profession came from the battle with my oldest daughter with brain cancer, honestly and truly. So I have a doctorate in naturopathy and I'm a registered clinical herbalist. So really my core competencies are utilizing herbs as the basis of nutrition to combat the symptoms of chronic degenerative and terminal illness. I'm really an advocate for plant medicine. I'm an advocate for nutrition. I'm an advocate for giving your body the things that it needs to survive, to help it to heal, regenerate. All of those things are what I preach from, you know, the choir stands really, like, and telling everybody to focus on that. But I'm also, you know, in being an advocate for plant medicine, definitely an advocate for, you know, all of the new communities that are rallying around plant medicine, such as, you know, cannabis and, you know, the psychedelics and those movements, really just wanting people to be able to have the right to choose whatever health options they think are best, you know, for them and suit them. So for me, that's really my core strengths, and my core goals. And really my everyday is rooted in that. I really live my passion every day.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it since the first time we spoke on Clubhouse. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was so apparent that you live and breathe everything that you're talking about right now. And so walk us through, because now you're up in New York, you're at Sloan Kettering. How did you end up right up there?
So Carlene, when she was 3 months old, because she was born, she's almost 2. Her birthday's May 7th, actually. So she's almost 2. She was born May 7th in 2020. And she was 3 months old in October of 2020. And she on her changing table, she was laying down and the light hit her eye in such a way where I could see the leukocoria, like the white in the eye. And I was like, oh gosh. So having a daughter, diagnosed with brain cancer, being a traditional naturopath, clinical herbalist, working with patients over the last 2 decades, you know, I knew what they were going to say. This is a suspected retinoblastoma, like this is eye cancer. So we live in Jamaica. I had to first find a ophthalmologist that would see her at her age. Had to wait for an appointment and got one in October of 2020 where they confirmed there was a 1.3 by 1.3 by 1.3 mass growing in her left eye. And at that time, they said, we think it's a suspected retinoblastoma. Now, being who I am and what I've gone through, you know, I went over the scans with them and I was like, the level of calcification in the mass and what I'm seeing on these images doesn't say retinoblastoma to me. There's definitely a tumor here. I see that, I accept that. I don't accept retinoblastoma. So they wanted to do chemotherapy, radiation, you know, things right away. And I didn't feel that that was appropriate at the time. So we did holistic treatment. We did the Imodin of aloe, we did cannabis sativa, we did graviola, moringa, you know, a number of things, CMOS nutritionally, and put her on a regimen. And she was doing very well until April of 2021. Her eyes started getting red and swelling, and we didn't know what was going on. And so she was admitted into the Bustamante Children's Hospital in Jamaica. And at that time, the ophthalmologist was like, you didn't opt for our treatment, you know, like the tumor's grown, it's bleached the globe, you know, it's probably all over her body, you know, type thing. And so I'm like, okay, before we jump to all those conclusions, why don't we go ahead and sorry, I'm going to put this on do not disturb for just a second because sorry about that. I'm getting phone calls. So why don't we just do the test? So they did an MRI with contrast, and in that MRI, there was no detection of the tumor. The tumor was not detected, but they didn't want to accept that in Jamaica. And so that was our first venture actually to Sloan. We came here because they're the #1 retinoblastoma hospital in the world. Dr. Abramson has been practicing for over 40 years on retinoblastoma. And I'm like, if anybody could tell me, you know, it's got to be this place. So I came, And I started as a direct pay patient. I paid for it out of pocket to come here, get a second opinion, and find out. And at that time, Dr. Abramson confirmed there's no tumor. This tumor is gone. And I'm like, okay. And he said, but what we're going to do is genetic test to see, if it was retinoblastoma or not retinoblastoma. So we did genetic testing. And he said to me at that time, I'm stumped. And I don't get stumped very often, but I'm stumped. Like, I don't know what this is or what this could have been. And so I said to him, could it be maybe a teratoma tumor? And he said, teratomas in the eye are so rare, but it matches perfectly, actually. He's like, that is weird, but it could potentially be. I said, well, that's the type of tumor that my oldest daughter was diagnosed with, a teratoma. So could it be that? And so we went down the road of trying to get genetic tests to figure that out, but I'm a direct pay patient. You guys saw the medical bills. What it costs to do genetic testing and like all of that stuff is just, it was unattainable for me at the time. So I wasn't able to really go down the road of genetic testing, but she was doing well and there was no tumor until March of this year. She started having this flare up. And it was off and on until about April 7th. This thing grew so fast and just took over her entire eye so fast. And nobody really knew what was going on at all. The doctors in Jamaica were completely stumped. I consulted with a doctor, an ophthalmologist that's in Jamaica, but has ties to Cuba. They sent her scans off to Havana. They don't know what's going on. We tried everything. St. Jude, we reached out to so many people, but her case is so rare that nobody knew what to do. So I'm like, we've got to get her back to Sloan. Like, that's the place that knows what to do. That's like where we have to get her. So unfortunately, because I started as a direct pay patient and because she's born in Jamaica, but a US citizen, but starting at direct pay means you stay direct pay. So you got to cover all your expense out of pocket. She doesn't have insurance. It's pre-existing. She doesn't really qualify for insurance. I've been trying everything to figure out how to get these things covered. And it's just been, super difficult. And we had a follow-up appointment today. And I'll tell you about that. But that's, how we got here, really. Just a quest to try to figure out, A, what's going on, and two, like, how do we fix this? Like, what are we even dealing with? how do we save her life? Like, that's literally just where we are right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot. And so what is because now you're there, you got to go to you said ophthalmologist. I don't know what's up with our lights today. I don't want us to be in the light today. So now that you're up there, what are what's kind of going on now? What's the update? I mean, today is Tuesday, May 3rd, right? So we're talking in really, in very real time.
Yeah.
What's your update right now? And what do you need right now?
So what we have to do is figure out what we're dealing with. There's a lot of genetic tests. There's a lot of diagnostic things, spinal taps and, bone marrow biopsies and different things that they're going to be doing to figure out what it is that we're dealing with exactly. We saw Dr. Abramson again today. Thanks to everybody who's rallied around. We needed to pay $32,000 to be seen here. A fundraiser was started. People have rallied around. I was able to cover the $32,000 that it required for us to be between donations and me almost going broke. I was able to come up with the $32,000 to get us in here. We're going to have to live here for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks to figure out what's going on. She's going to have a surgery on Monday. They're going to try to do the spinal tap and the bone marrow biopsy during surgery. But here's the deal. After our thing today with the genetic test for retinoblastoma, negative. So as I thought from the beginning, and what Dr. Abramson and I were talking about today, like, he's like, you said it, it was never, I was like, I really never thought it was that. And, you know, like I said, it's not my first rodeo. So I'm not just going to concede to going with the system, because the system says there's symptom presentation. Based on symptom presentation, there's a disease diagnosis. Based on a disease diagnosis, there's a treatment protocol, and there's nowhere to go outside of that. And I'm not willing to just say, okay, well, we think retinoblastoma, we're going to diagnose retinoblastoma, let's start a chemo cocktail of retino. No, we're not doing that. We're going to figure out what is exactly going on, and then we're going to make informed decisions. So for me, going that route is a little harder, you know? Genetic testing is expensive, diagnostic tests are expensive, but before I'm willing to just allow her to just have anything, I want her to have the right thing. We want to make sure that she's small. You know, these are decisions that are going to affect the rest of her life. I have to be sure. So that's what we're going to try to find out. Like, what is it even that we're dealing with? Retinoblastoma markers, negative. He thinks maybe still a teratoma, but diagnosing that is going to be really difficult, but at least we have a direction to go in. So when he goes in on Monday, they're probably going to have to remove her eye, is what it comes down to. It's probably just going to have to come out. I mean, I don't think there's, at this point, there's a lot going on, and I don't think they're going to be able to save it. The tumor is growing down into her bone, like her eye socket bone, down into her face. They're going to try to remove as much as they can. Make sure through the bone marrow biopsy and the spinal tap that cancer isn't anywhere else in her body or hasn't spread anywhere else. And this is just what we're dealing with. And then figure out where to go from there. Basically, it's a lot of I don't know right now, honestly. It's a lot of we don't know. We don't even know what we're dealing with. We really don't know.
Yeah, and that makes it even more challenging, the not knowing, you know. And so the resources that you need, we don't know. So there's not even a cap on it. And so I think it's really essential that we, you know, do our best to extend and get this out in front of as many people as possible, you know, so that we can support you in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even, like, words can't express when I got the message from you, Cole. I was like, you know what? I really like just the love and support, you know, just from nowhere. Because at the end of the day, we did meet on Clubhouse, you know, and we had great conversations, and just sort of a kindred spirit developed around our love for plant medicine, you know, and advocacy around that. And for it to be able to blossom into this level of support, like, I thank both of you so much. It's just, my heart is broken, but at the same time, it's really, really full, really full.
I mean, I could see you, you know, like I could see the way that you show up. I could feel it. So I don't need to know everything, but thank you for letting us know so that we can support.
Yeah.
We did set up a page under the foundation page, so that people can see, like, we are officially supporting, you know what I mean? We're not just sharing another link, that we are actively participating this in the ways that we can, with the community that we've created and that we love, to really show up.
Thank
You know, for us, we always say integration is not optional. And when we talk about what integration is, it's these moments. It's when it really matters, when it's reaching out to facilitators and those in the cannabis and plant medicine space that We're always speaking about miracles to do things in the 3D, not just in the 5D or in the, you know, the miracles of shamanic practices that are plentiful. At the end of the day, it's also what is it to be in love and in support when more,
Yeah.
like more, um, as a representation of also how all of the work that you've done to show up in life the way that you do to be seen, so that we even know, so that we can come and be that support. I told Ty yesterday, I was like, we have to do something, and we can. So let's do it.
And we
I
are. And this
appreciate
is,
you.
and we appreciate you and everything that you've done, all the work that you've done, all the studying that you've done, the care for your child, the situation with your eldest daughter, all of these things are really, really important for us to support other human beings in. And, we talk about integration not being an option. We are always integrating things. It's how are we integrating them? And now is the time where we've built community. And so we integrate our community into supporting a member of the community. And so that's what we're interested in here, is building a community integration so that people can actually get intimate with what's going on with you and what's going on with Carly, and get intimate with the situation, because together we all have the resources. And so when we integrate all the resources that we've amassed on individually together, that's when we make changes for community. And I think it's time for us to return back to that type of situation. We've been separated by technology, we've been separated by borders and countries and all of this stuff. It's time for us to come back together as human beings, and be able to build in this space. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for everything that you are. Thank you for having the chops to come all the way to the States to have your child taken care of. Thank you for loving her the way that you do.
And the relentless studying to step outside of the standards of care or the protocols of hospitals. No one knows that like Todd does, in being an emergency medicine for as long as he was and as long as he's been a nurse. And being in the system is already, to even be there is emotional. To have to maintain the fortitude to study and to have to learn so that you know what you're looking at. It's like you have the gift of having all these other studies of the human body, but at the end of the day, you're here as a mom right now that has to wear two hats, the
Yes,
advocate and the mom.
I am the mom right now. I am in straight mama bear. Don't mess with my baby. Take care of my baby. Like, I will fight to protect her in a way that, because really that's where this started. Everybody always asks me, you're so passionate about the industry and what you do and, everything. When my oldest daughter was diagnosed with brain cancer, I questioned whether chemotherapy and radiation was the appropriate course of action. I didn't think that it was the right thing for her either. But at that time, they let me know the state of California decides what treatment is. She's a minor. You don't get to decide, and if you think you do, we will show you by, challenging your parental rights. You're a threat to your child at this point. You're acting outside of medical advice. We will take away your parental rights. So with you or without you, this is happening, you know? And they were able to remove all of her brain tumor with her second brain surgery. So she beat brain cancer technically, but her body wasn't able to recover from the chemotherapy and the radiation. And at the end of the day, they gave her a protocol from a different type of tumor. Because again, teratomas are rare. They really hadn't seen them in the brain like that at that time. So they gave her a different type, the closest protocol. And that's just not something I'm willing to do again. It's absolutely not something I'm willing to do. It's something that I will fight till the end of earth, about, because I've been through this before. And, at the end of the day, I can't say what life is going to be or what the ultimate, when it's all said and done, what's going to happen. I don't get to make that decision. But what I can do is do everything that's in my power to make sure that I made the most informed decision with all of the information that I had available to me, and do what I really feel is absolute best for her. And fast forward 20 years now, the conversations that I'm having at Sloan, the team of doctors that are like, well, what do you think? Let's talk about this. Like, let's decide together. Completely different than the situation 20 years ago, where it's just like, here, this is what you're doing, and that's it. And so hindsight is 2020. I've had literally 2020. I've had a lot of experience working with other, patients, working with other people with similar diagnoses over the years, while beating myself up about the fact that, I couldn't save my daughter. But it's come full circle. And I'm doing what I can now. And I'm thankful to have that level of information and discernment to be able to hopefully make all of the right decisions for Carlene.
And thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for showing up. It's inspirational to me, and I'm sure it's inspirational to everyone that's watching this. And you stepping forward, you defying authority, and you really going with your gut and with your instincts in this is really wonderful. I'm in awe, and I am inspired, and I'm inspired to tell everybody that I know about this, because this needs to be supported. You need to be
Thank you.
supported. Carly needs to be supported, and whatever we can do to continue supporting you, please let us know.
And what we are going to do, part of what as we spoke about, like what we can really do now is for our audience, for anyone that sees this video, the first 2 people that will show us a receipt of $5,000 to you, to the fund, we'll give them a ticket to our psychedelic informed practitioner training. So the first 2 people, all they have to do is show the receipt, which is tax deductible under this organization. So they get a double bonus, right? They get to contribute to this, and they get to come learn more about what's possible in the psychedelic space and healing. So we're going to do that for the first 2 people that donate $5,000. And then from then on, the next 5 people, we're going to donate half. So they have to show that they paid half to your cause, and then we will discount the ticket down to half. So, and then we're just going to share this as much as we can, right? So that we're really big in believing that when we set up infrastructures that are integrated, that are considerate, everyone can benefit, feel good, and win, for the simplicity of the comparison. And beyond that, if you just need to talk, if you need to vent, if you need to lose your shit for 5 minutes because just everything and holding it all together, know that we're here for that. Or, if there's people in your life, anyone that may be watching, to just check in with you. We know that you've got this. We know that you're holding it all together. And in those moments when you feel like you can't, or you won't, or you're feeling exhausted, know that we're here for that too. That we don't judge that as not being strong, or judge that for any form of like weakness or falling apart. Sometimes it's just getting it out. Sometimes it's just getting that energy to move when you have to fight so hard to keep it all together for what you're up against.
I really
So,
appreciate that. I'm going to take you up on it too. I have your number. I have you on iMessage. So when I'm ready to lose it.
That's right. Look, Tana, that's
I'm gonna
something we
message
have with
you.
each other. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the purging, right? People talk about purging in the psychedelic or plant medicine space. Sometimes the energy needs to purge and move so that you can think clear.
I think she's probably at her limit now.
She is.
Me talking.
We love you. I'm going to
Love you.
send you this video so that you have it as well.
Okay.